This image is the definition of chic. It's sophisticated, refined, polished, elegant, graceful, luxurious, timeless. Every single one of those words applies here. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, looks absolutely stunning in this photograph. The clean lines of the dress, the neutral tones, the understated jewelry, the soft setting. Everything comes together to create an image that feels elevated and incredibly stylish. What I love most is how modern it looks while still feeling classic. Nothing about it will look dated 5 years from now. Nothing about it feels trendy. It feels curated, tasteful, and beautifully composed. This is the kind of aesthetic fashion houses spend millions trying to create. It's aspirational without feeling unattainable. It's luxurious without feeling excessive. It's beautiful without trying too hard. And let's talk about the presence. Some people wear clothes. Some people model clothes. There are people who embody the look. Meghan has always fallen into the third category. She doesn't disappear into the styling. The styling complements her. This photograph feels like a masterclass in elegance. Every detail works. Every detail contributes to the overall feeling of sophistication. The result is an image that feels serene, graceful, and incredibly high-end. This is about styling in its purest form. Chic, elegant, sophisticated, refined, polished, timeless. And Meghan delivers every single one of them in a single frame. And that's the read. If you like your tea hot, share it, save your seat, and follow for more. This is the Notorious JTB, notoriously opinionated, signing out.
Stop. Whatever you're doing right now, stop. Because today we are not just talking, we are not just analysing, we are not just breaking down the latest nonsense from the Royal Rota machine. Today we are celebrating. And if you've been riding with this channel for any amount of time, you already know. When Meghan wins, we show up loud. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has officially been named one of the top 10 most elegant women in the entire United States of America. Not a city, not an industry, not a niche corner of pop culture, the whole country. And before you think this is some obscure listicle that nobody cares about, I need you to sit down, because the company she's keeping on this list is going to make your jaw hit the floor and stay there. We're talking Michelle Obama, Angelina Jolie, Amal Clooney, Nikki Hilton Rothschild, Carolyn Bessette-Kennedy, Katie Holmes, Olivia Palermo. Read that list again, slowly, because that is not a list you stumble onto by accident. That is not a participation trophy. That is not a consolation prize handed out to keep someone quiet. That is a list you earn, with consistency, with character, with the kind of presence that cannot be manufactured, purchased, or PR'd into existence. And Meghan Sussex? She earned every single syllable of her place on it. Now here's where I want to slow down, because I think this is the part of the conversation that the tabloids, bless their desperate little hearts, will never understand. They are going to try to dismiss this recognition. They are going to find some way to minimize it, undercut it, or redirect the conversation towards something they can actually control. And the reason they'll do that is because they fundamentally misunderstand what elegance is. Elegance, to the tabloid mind, is about hemlines. It's about whether the clutch bag cost enough, whether the designer label was the right designer label, whether the posture was sufficiently deferential to whoever happened to be standing nearby wearing a crown. They want to reduce this enormous living, breathing quality down to a checklist that they can use to either approve or disqualify whoever they've decided to target that week. But real elegance is something no price tag can touch. Elegance is presence. It's poise. It's the ability to walk into a room, at any altitude, in any set of circumstances, and hold it. Not by being the loudest, not by performing for the cameras, not by playing to the crowd, but by being so completely, utterly at ease with who you are that other people feel it. They feel the stillness of it, the confidence of it, the refusal to shrink. And if there is one quality that Meghan Sussex has demonstrated over and over again through conditions that would have broken most people, it is exactly that. That woman has been put under a level of public microscopic scrutiny that is genuinely unprecedented for someone who was not even born into the institution she was dragged through. Every gesture, every expression, every outfit choice, every pause before she answered a question, all of it picked apart, weaponized, turned into a headline. And through all of it, she has never crumbled, never looked rattled, never cheapened herself by descending into the mud with the people who were hurling it at her. That composure, that quiet, unshakable refusal to shrink, that is elegance. And the people at womenculture.co didn't just recognize her outfit choices, they recognized her character. And that distinction matters enormously. Let's actually sit with the names on this list for a moment, because context is everything here. Michelle Obama was called too loud, too proud, not American enough. And she walked out of the White House as one of the most admired human beings on the planet. Amal Clooney spent the early years of her marriage being written about almost exclusively as George's wife, a woman who had argued before international courts on behalf of genocide victims, reduced to a +1, before the world finally caught up to who she actually was. Carolyn Bessette-Kennedy was relentlessly picked apart by the press during her lifetime, treated like an accessory rather than an icon, and is now held up as one of the defining style figures of the 20th century. Are you noticing the pattern? Because you should be, because it's not subtle. Women of extraordinary caliber, women who are too interesting, too multidimensional, to themselves to be neatly categorized and controlled, almost always face a period where the culture tries to cut them down to size. Where the press decides, for reasons that say far more about the press than about the woman, that she needs to be diminished. And almost always, without exception, they outlast it. History corrects itself. The truth comes out. And the women who were told they were too much end up on lists alongside legends. Meghan Sussex is living proof that this pattern is still very much alive. The scrutiny she faced was never really about her flaws. It was always about her power. And now, with this recognition, the culture is simply doing what it eventually always does. It's catching up to the truth. I want to spend a moment on something I think is genuinely important, because it speaks to something much bigger than a single listicle. This recognition came from America, and that geography is not incidental. It's everything. America has a fundamentally different relationship with Meghan Sussex than the United Kingdom does. In America, people are not viewing her through 3 decades of tabloid conditioning. They are not seeing her through the distorted lens of royal politics or whatever institutional grudges were being quietly nursed in the corridors of Buckingham Palace. They see her clearly, without the agenda, without the filter. What they see is a woman who is charming, articulate, stylish, and genuinely committed to the causes she puts her name to. They see someone who sat across from Oprah Winfrey and told her truth with composure and grace under the most extraordinary public pressure. They see someone whose lifestyle brand, as ever, launched and immediately resonated with a massive audience because it felt authentic rather than manufactured. They see someone who shows up to events looking like she was specifically created to make photographers forget what they were doing. Strip away the institutional resentment. Strip away the royal rota's access agreements and their need to maintain favour with the palace by keeping certain narratives alive. Strip all of that away and what you're left with is an unobstructed view of Meghan Sussex. And that view, it turns out, looks a lot like one of the most elegant women in the country. Funny how that works when you remove the agenda. Here's something else I want to put on the table, because I think it's consistently underappreciated. Meghan's style evolution is one of the most remarkable and deliberate in recent public life. When she first stepped into the royal spotlight, her wardrobe was subjected to an almost forensic level of analysis. Every hemline, every colour choice, every accessory was either praised or weaponized depending on who was filing copy that day. What was remarkable, looking back, was how deliberately she navigated that environment. She understood the assignment. She showed up to royal engagements in appropriately structured, protocol-adjacent dressing. But even then, you could see her personality pushing through the edges. The camel tones, the relaxed tailoring, the way she'd take something formally expected and give it a modern softness that felt entirely her own. Then she left, and something fascinating happened. Freed from the constraints of royal dressing, freed from the institutional grey zones and the endless worrying about whether a coat colour would offend someone in a castle somewhere. Meghan's style didn't fall apart. It didn't become erratic or confused. It flourished. She leaned fully into the California, cool, elevated wardrobe that suits her absolutely completely. The wide-leg trousers, the crisp whites, the beautifully cut coats, the quiet luxury that doesn't need a logo to announce itself because the woman wearing it does that work on her own. She has developed a visual language that is immediately unmistakably hers. And the development of a truly personal, consistent, evolved aesthetic identity over time, that is precisely what separates a style icon from someone who is simply well-dressed. Meghan Sussex is not just well-dressed. She has a point of view, and that point of view has now officially been recognized as one of the most elegant in America. Now, let's talk about the other side of this story, because there absolutely is one, and it is delicious. While all of this has been unfolding, while publications are recognizing Meghan's elegance, while her cultural footprint keeps expanding, while the conversation around her keeps becoming richer and more celebratory, the UK tabloids are doing what they always do. They are scrambling, they are spinning, they are finding new and increasingly creative ways to be deeply, viscerally upset about a woman simply thriving. At this point, it's almost poetic. It has become a cycle so reliable you could set your watch to it. Meghan achieves something. The tabloids panic. The panic draws more attention to the achievement. The achievement becomes even larger. Meghan glows brighter. Repeat until the end of time. Someone once described it as Meghan having a reverse weather effect on the UK press. The more stormy they get, the sunnier she becomes. And honestly, that might be the most accurate description I've ever come across. She is solar-powered by their negativity at this point, and I find that simultaneously hilarious and genuinely beautiful. She has found a way to let their hostility fuel her without ever acknowledging it directly. That, friends, is a masterclass. Let's be honest about what actually drives the tabloid meltdowns, because it's worth naming clearly. It's not the dress. It's never really the dress. What drives them absolutely up the wall is the fact that Meghan Sussex refuses to perform for their approval. She is not reading from their script. She is not conforming to their very specific, very rigid, very 1952 idea of what a woman of her background and position should look like, sound like, and aspire to. She moved to California. She built her own brand on her own terms. She advocates for the causes she actually believes in. She lands magazine covers that stop people mid-scroll. None of that fits the narrative they've been trying to sell for years. And every time reality contradicts the narrative, there's a new crisis at the UK press desk. They write the article, they cry into their tea, and Meghan wakes up the next morning in Montecito looking magnificent. The cycle continues. Here's what I want everyone who's watching to really absorb, because I think it's genuinely important. This isn't just a fashion story. It was never just a fashion story. Meghan Sussex represents something that resonates deeply with so many people in this community. She represents what it actually looks like to insist on your own narrative, to refuse to be reduced, to take everything that was thrown at you, the dismissal, the smear campaigns, the active and coordinated attempts to undermine you at every turn, and not only survive it, but transform it into something that places you in the same breath as Michelle Obama and Amal Clooney. That is not elegance as aesthetics. That is elegance as resilience. That is a story about what happens when you stop performing for people who will never be satisfied and start showing up fully, unapologetically, for yourself. When publications recognize her elegance, when powerful cultural figures amplify her moments, when she appears on lists alongside the most iconic women of our generation. Those are cultural statements. They are saying that a certain kind of woman, a woman who is outspoken, multiracial, unapologetically modern, and absolutely uninterested in being small, belongs in this conversation, belongs in this echelon. And for a lot of people watching, that matters enormously. The womenculture.co recognition didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened because Meghan Sussex has been quietly, consistently and deliberately building something real over years of public life. A brand built on authenticity, visual storytelling, genuine advocacy, and the kind of poise that you simply cannot fake across that length of time and that level of scrutiny. She has not cut corners. She has not sold out. She has not compromised her voice to placate people who were never going to give her credit regardless. And now, right now, the culture is catching up to what many of us already knew. Meghan Sussex is a legend in the making. Actually, scratch that. She's not arriving at this moment. She has been here. The world is just finally writing it down. There will always be noise. There will always be people who are deeply invested, for reasons that say absolutely everything about them and nothing about Meghan, in making sure she doesn't get the credit she has earned. They will keep writing the articles. They will keep manufacturing the controversies. They will keep clutching at any angle they can find to reframe her wins as something lesser. And Meghan Sussex will keep existing with elegance, poise, and that almost supernatural level of composure that apparently drives certain people completely insane. The shade fuels the glow. It really is just physics at this point. And we, this community, the squaddies, everyone watching right now, we are here to bear witness to it and to celebrate it every single step of the way. Now I want to hear from you. Drop it in the comments. Who else do you think belongs on that list of most elegant women alongside Meghan? Who in public life today carries that same quiet, undeniable, can't fake it presence? And tell me this, do you think this kind of cultural recognition actually shifts how mainstream media covers her going forward, or are the tabloids simply too far gone at this point? I want the real debate. I read these comments, every single one, and the best conversations on this channel happen right down there. And if you are new here and somehow made it to the end of this video without hitting subscribe, fix that right now. The button is right there. It costs you absolutely nothing. And it means you never miss a single moment when we're breaking down the news, the nonsense, and everything in between. This is independent commentary that answers to no one. Not to press release, not to royal rota access deals, not to anyone with a vested interest in keeping Meghan's name small. Just the truth, the receipts, and the celebration this woman deserves. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one.